All right, everyone. Today, our very special guest is the talented, the legendary Michael Waldron. Let's go. Michael,
legendary.
Welcome to Friends from Work. Yes.
One episode of a show out in the world.
You're already legendary.
Yeah, one of those immediately iconic things, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all right. We'll see how that works out.
Michael, we are so excited to have you joining us. One of the things we always like to start off with when we get the chance to have folks on is we like to ask what your history with Marvel was in terms of comics, watching cartoon shows, watching the movies, like prior to now working in the MCU and quickly kind of becoming a key component of the MCU. Did you sort of already have a Marvel fandom, or is that something that you came to a bit later?
I was a huge fan of the X-Men cartoons in the 90s. I feel like that was, I wasn't like obsessed with comics as a kid, but it was those X-Men Saturday morning cartoons, and then like the X-Men games, the like arcade style co-op games.
Those rule.
That were awesome. And that was kind of my big, and it's like at the time, I mean, I grew up in the 90s, so it's like probably DC was more like, I remember watching the old Captain America movie as a kid and being like, what is this? This is crazy. So yeah, that was so not a huge Marvel guy. I've talked about this before in other interviews, but I was a big wrestling fan, and I do think there's a lot of similarities in just like the serialization, the heroes and villains of it all. So that was kind of my fandom as a kid.
Okay.
I'm curious about this. You've been a writer for a long time. You've written for Rick and Morty and all these other things. What's the challenge, the benefit of taking a character like Loki, who's already had, a story, a character arc, a 6-movie thing? What is that like? Is that fun? Is it good to work with that? Or do you wish you could have a fresh start on a take?
No, I think in this case, it's amazing. It's time, because I love the character and it's Tom Hiddleston. What character, what combination of character and actor in the MCU is more fun to write for than Loki? And in this case, he's so beloved. There's 10 years of like real investment in him. There's a reason they keep bringing him back to life after his many deaths. And so in this case, no, that was a pleasure. And it's, Tom himself is a resource too, because he's been building this character for so long. So makes my life easy. And also creatively, it's exciting because even though it's not a new character, it does feel new in the sense that it's a big blockbuster villain that suddenly you're doing 6 episodes on. You're just getting to go deep in a way that you never have with any character in the MCU, maybe. And so I was really fulfilled by that.
Well, it's interesting you say that about going deeper with that character, because one thing that I think has, in my mind, separated Loki so far from the prior 2 Disney Plus shows is that not only is it going, really deep into Loki and Loki's story, from the get-go, but also it feels more ambitious in terms of what you're trying to do to the wider universe and sort of playing some with the rules, maybe more so than I think any single project has, at least in a while. Was that something that you always were kind of hoping to do with this project, or is that something you kind of stumbled upon as you were writing Loki?
I think we were myself philosophically and our writing staff and really our whole creative team, we were trying to push the envelope to the extent that was possible. We didn't just want to make the Loki show, which is just to say, it would have been really easy. I feel like to just mail this in because it's Loki. It's a TV show with Loki with time travel. In some ways, it's hard to mess up just because of how good Tom is. And so we wanted to take chances, surprise people, do something bold, do something that felt like not just a great superhero show, but really felt like great television, like the best, you know, the some of the best TV that people love watching. And so,
right.
Yeah, I think whatever we're doing as it relates to the MCU, just, you know, that's all wrapped up in our own ambition for this show's importance to that broader universe.
This is something I have no idea about, and you're going to laugh at. When the product we see, what percentage of that is you? What percentage of that is Kate? What percentage of that is Kevin? Like, when you come up with an idea, do you have to bounce it off both of them? Did they bounce it off you? Like, how does that work? How does the collaborative effort work?
It's such a collaboration. I mean, it's that answer changes depending on whatever. Every project is a zillion different creative decisions melded together, and that answer would be different for every one of those creative decisions. You know, it's originally it was, you know, I was on first kind of with my writing staff, figuring this whole thing out, quarterbacking, figuring out the story and writing the scripts. And then Kate came on, and as production was, you know, as that became the next phase, and, you know, then she and I really became partners, you know, shaping the creative and, you know, also just making sure we could shoot the thing, that it was possible to shoot it. But also she had such great ideas, and she was coming in with fresh eyes, which was very valuable to me because we'd been so entrenched in something very specific, and it's just easy to get lost in the weeds in this. And then, you know, and then together, and Kevin's always part of all those conversations. He's our collaborator and all of that. And then as you head into production and as that go, you know, it's like, in this case, it's me passing the baton to her, and she becomes the quarterback of everything. And, you know, but the writer, myself, or in this case, it was somebody on my staff, Eric Martin, was there on set while I was doing Doctor Strange. You know, we're still there as things are being rewritten and shaping the creative together. So, I mean, it really is a collaboration. It's not show running like a traditional TV show. Like, Kate is the captain of the ship during production and post. And I mean, you see how good the show is. It's like, her and I had a really great friendship, and in this case, it just really clicked and worked.
Did you know each other before this, or was this the first time?
No, we didn't. We met when she pitched briefly, and then we really met each other at D23. Like, as we were about to go on stage to talk to 8,000 people. We were looking at each other like, what the hell do we say? And then the next thing we know, we're being shuttled through a 2-hour press line, which I had never done before. And we like met the dogs from Lady and the Tramp, and we kept looking at each other. We were like, this is weird. And I guess it's just going to get weirder and weirder. So we've had a fun, interesting ride together.
We got the chance to attend the virtual press conference, I guess, about a week ago. And you were there, as was Kate and Tom and a bunch of other folks. But one thing that I thought was really interesting as sort of the resident comics reader on the podcast is sure. Tom was rattling off all these names of comics creators and not all big names, right? Like folks that he had clearly at some time or another done his homework. And I was curious, are there any certain, I don't know if you yourself spent time with these comics, but are there certain eras, certain runs that you felt were more influential than others? Or did you see this as something really totally set apart from anything done in the comics world?
Yeah, I was excited. Like Tom mentioned, Daniel Kibblesmith, who's great. Yeah. He was just a great dude. And he wrote a really great run of Loki that was inspirational. For us, it's like that was kind of coming out as we were writing our show, but there was some good stuff in there that I may or may not have ripped off. happily. The kid, I've said this, the kid Loki run, and it was cool only because it was just, that was although it's totally different than Loki in the TVA, it was a story of a version of Loki kind of being judged for his, for things he didn't do, like the burden of destiny weighing down on you, and this question of, can I change who I am, or are you meant to become this? So it's like, that was spiritually, I think, a very, I read that as I was early on, as I was kind of figuring out my own way into the show. And that was inspirational for me.
Well, you feel that here, no doubt. Okay, a little more lighthearted here. By the time this comes out, 2 episodes will have been aired, so people will be seeing this by now. We've seen both the first 2. Obviously, we're getting into multiverse type stuff, timeline type stuff. Like, how much research did you have to do on what the MCU has already done with that? Like, did you guys have to dive into Endgame, the rules there, all that stuff? I'm sure you're aware by now that the Marvel fan community is hyper aware of every tiny little detail at this point. So,
yeah, of course. I mean, we had a giant binder of comics that related to this stuff in the writer's room. The Marvel executives who were on the show are very plugged in to all of that stuff as well. And so they're authorities on that. And it's like, and if we have a question, if they don't know the answer, they can go straight to the top and get you an answer. So that's helpful. My writer's assistant on this show, Ryan Kohler, I kind of charged him with being the keeper of the comics and of the mythology. So like, anytime we need to know, like, all right, is there any precedent for this in particular, whatever, we could just, all right, Kohler, what is that? And he could always rattle it off for us. So, you've gotta become an expert, certainly in all the rule. Yeah. And on Endgame and everything, like I had to really watch that scene with the Ancient One, and with, Smart Hulk explaining time travel to Scott. You watch those over and over and over again, because that is how our audience understands time travel in the MCU. That's the canon. That's how the Avengers understand time travel. That's the foundation of the rules in this show. And so we were just trying to build upon that. And we'll see how we did. It's all said and done.
One of the things I really appreciated, and Kyle and I talk about how the MCU at its best does this really well, I think especially with some of the kind of phase 3 stuff, in that it not only moves the ball forward, but if you can go back and even improve upon some things that have come before, like I think, Endgame, which maybe makes sense because it was Marcus McFeely, sort of really enhance the significance of Thor: The Dark World to the overall timeline. But I felt like I really appreciated what y'all did with that scene there with the Sorcerer Supreme and Bruce specifically, because I think one of the things, Endgame was 3 hours and I don't know that they had a ton of extra time to sit in it too long. So you really didn't have a lot of time or really a chance there to explore the nuances and the implications. And even some of the questions I came away from that movie with on that front, I think y'all have already done a really good job of addressing head on and even kind of expounding upon.
Well, thank you. And yeah, we'll see. We'll try to keep a high batting average. I'm a fan. I'm a critical fan. I like to look online and read and scrutinize things and pick things apart. So I tried to be our show's biggest critic, be the enemy of the film, or the enemy of the picture, so to speak, all the way through, because and provide satisfying answers to all these questions. And and I think, you know, I think we did a good job. Well, but look, let's see. Let's get the whole series out and see what people. Yeah, let's see what people think.
Two quick ones for me. If you could write for any MCU character that you are not writing for, what would it be? Who would it be? I guess.
Oh man, somebody asked me that before, and I didn't even have a good answer. My answer was all. It's like it's hard when your answer literally is Loki.
You got the right job.
I like Nebula. I like Nebula.
Oh wow.
I like villains who have a fraught, some trauma in their past and a reason to be a smart ass and have their guard up.
That's a deep cut. That's not where I thought you were going. I love it.
Yeah, Nebula's pretty cool.
What can you tell us about Doctor Strange without being shot now? Without being sniped?
I can just tell you how it ends.
Somewhere.
I'll tell you the whole thing. It's cool. It's cool. Cool movie.
It's cool. Michael Waldron.
It's cool. Yeah. That's good. That'll get a lot of hits. I mean, look, it's a Sam Raimi movie. That's what I keep, and it really is. You know, this is Sam Raimi's return to big superhero movies, and I think everything that you might want out of a Sam Raimi movie, like, you know, you're hopefully going to get out of this one, and yeah, working with him was amazing, and he's a genius. So I don't know. I'm excited for everybody to see it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Nothing of any substance in that answer. By the way,
well, I was going to ask you because my wife and I actually recently have been watching through the Evil Dead films. Because you know, I was raised on the Raimi Spider-Mans in terms of superhero films there, and I just kind of missed the boat on the Evil Dead stuff. Yeah, but those are so fun, and I know that even before Raimi was on the new Doctor Strange film, there had been talks of it kind of veering more into the horror world, and so all of that has kind of gotten me super excited to see what the blend of his worlds could look like.
Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, that's obviously something that Scott Derrickson, the director of the first movie, does so well, and you know, it obviously, that influence, you feel it even in the first one, even though it's not a horror movie, there is like this sort of spookiness throughout it. That's part of what makes that movie work so well and everything. And so when we came onto this one, you know, I felt so fortunate for the work he'd done on the first one, the work that he and the previous writer on the second one, Jade Bartlett, that, you know, they'd done some work on the second one, and it's like you dive in, and in this case, COVID just gave me and Sam more time to make it our own thing, and we you know, it's cool. I'm glad that there was the chance to maybe push it in a slightly scarier direction, just because Sam does that so well.
I like that little smirk. Now, if you're not watching, that little smirk is all I needed for the tease. That's what I needed.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, Michael Waldron smirks.
2021.
There's the new headline. Well, Michael, we're super excited about Multiverse of Madness, and more immediately, really excited to see where Loki goes. And so hopefully after we've gotten all the spoilers out of the way, we can have you back on.
Yeah, man. You can tell me how I ruined the MCU. That's fine. We'll hash it out.
Well, thanks for being
so
much.
Cool. Thank y'all.
Appreciate you.